First of all, Amazon.com is, I mean, that as a company, I think, is a relatively large enterprise. So, yes, we're using these services ourselves. But if I look at the bigger picture, if I look at the usage of some of our services, let's take EC2, for example, the Elastic Compute Cloud. There are big five, in my eyes, 5 different categories of users there. One is, of course, the startups, the people that these days, any VC that encounters a new company says, and why aren't you running this in EC2? So there's a lot there. People that actually expect, that don't know whether the product is going to succeed, they need capacity on demand, and that's a well-defined group. But larger groups are also, for example, those that do sort of the traditional parallel computing environments. Pharmaceuticals, financial industry, companies like that, they have an unlimited appetite for any compute power that you can deliver to them. Then there is the group of companies that do software development and that are mainly, that look at capacity for example, for testing. So in the whole software development cycle, testers are often underutilized with the environments that they've been given, because this is something you only need during a particular cycle of your lifetime, and they only get the bad hardware, or they get the old stuff. At Amazon, we can give them services as many as they want to. You can test different configurations of the operating systems and all these kind of things. You can do it easily. So there's a large chunk that goes into software testing. Then there is what I would call the kind of the accidental enterprise user. And what I call that, when I fall into that is, for example, the New York Times. These guys, they started a project where they wanted to digitize all of the old pages they had of the New York Times. I think between 1901 and 1950 or something like that. They only had paper of that. They wanted to scan it and digitize and turn all of that in PDF. So you've got all these TIFF images that need to be converted to PDF. So they go sit down, they make up a list as you traditionally do. You look at your resources and you say, well, if I can buy one server for this with this amount of storage, it'll take me a year to create all this PDF stuff. And the New York Times doesn't have a whole battery of servers laying around to do this work for them. So there was one engineer at the New York Times that just uploaded all of those images to S3, acquired 100 EC2 instances and plowed it through in 24 hours. And so how much does that cost you? Well, 24 times 100 times 10 cents. And that's the cost of doing that. The engineer used his own credit card. And so this is a pattern we see often how enterprise customers get on board with using Amazon services. There's one of the people in the IT department thinks, oh, this is really cool. And they make a first attempt, they do a first project, and then slowly the enterprise rolls in further. And a particular pattern I see in that particular segment of EC2 users is many CIOs are already very comfortable with using virtualization to do server consolidation. They're already using virtualized machines, they're running over 4 or 6 of them on the same box of hardware. For them, doing the next step, going from server consolidation, running the virtual machine on a shared server to running it in the cloud, is actually relatively small. And once they've become comfortable with that, you can actually move these things back and forth between enterprise and between the cloud. We see a lot of new usage happening there. Other big enterprise buckets are software as a service. We've seen quite a few companies around in the past day here that are going into that world. But many software as a service that are developing application kind of services. It's more software delivered through the web. And there's quite a few big ones. And then there's a quite significant new group of traditional enterprise players that build, let's say, the enterprise middleware players that are preparing their very large pieces of software to run inside EC2 so that OS can build applications around it.